good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is that you might be joining us. Welcome to the Nonprofit Show. We are so thrilled to have with us our dear friend, Pearl Hoagland. Pearl is the director at Fundraising Academy, and she's bringing to us a conversation in a two-part series. So today is part one, tomorrow is part two, and it's all about building rapport with gatekeepers. So stay with us as we dive deep in this conversation with our bestie, Pearl. And hello to Julia, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. So good to be here with you, Julia. I'm Jarrett Ransom, your nonprofit nerd, CEO of the Raven Group, and always excited to get nerdy in conversations. Julia tries to hold me close to her vest and says that I'm her nonprofit nerd, but I like to remind you there is plenty of nerdiness to go around. So really excited for this, but we're also always excited to have the ongoing support from our very amazing presenting sponsors, which also include Fundraising Academy. But let me give a quick verbal shout out to those of you that are listening by podcast. Thank you so very much to Blue Meringue, American Nonprofit Academy, again, Fundraising Academy at National University, where our guest Pearl Hoagland joins us from today. Be Generous, Your Part-Time Controller, Staffing Boutique, Nonprofit Thought Leader, and the Nonprofit Nerd. We are so honored to have their continued support and their investment in this sector. So really glad to have them with us day in and day out as we move forward into our fourth year of the Nonprofit Show. So really excited for that. Hey, if you missed any of our episodes along the way, you can find us at Roku, YouTube, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Vimeo. And for those podcast listeners like I am, go ahead and queue up the Nonprofit Show wherever you stream your podcast. Now, again, our guest today, Pearl Hoagland, she joins us, Director, Fundraising Academy at National University. Welcome, Pearl.
Hi, thanks for having me. And I just wanted to nerd out with you.
That always makes me so happy.
But I'm so happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know, these nerd glasses, they're hot commodity. I think I gave you, I don't know, I gave you a pair at AFP Icon. I think I sent you another pair, but I hand them out like candy, and I love when they show up on the show. So thank you.
They are the best.
And I got news for you. This will make you really happy, Jarrett. Pearl was with us on Friday for Ask and Answered, and she pulled out her glasses.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I have them right here.
I love them. Fantastic. Well, hey, Pearl, tell us a little bit about Fundraising Academy and National University for our viewers and listeners that this might be new to them.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me here. Fundraising Academy, we are housed at National University, which is a nonprofit veteran-founded university in San Diego. Well, headquartered in San Diego, but fully online. We teach adults from undergrad, associate's degree, all the way up to PhDs. Fundraising Academy is a professional development program within National University. We teach fundraisers from all around the country and frankly, all around the world to build relationships with individual donors so that they can grow philanthropy throughout the region and bring more money to their organizations.
So good and so very needed. So today you're talking to us about, penetrating through the moat and then moving to, talking to the key players. So our first key talking point you're going to talk about is before you see the king or queen, you have to get across that moat. And I want to add the fire breathing dragon too.
Yeah.
That's fabulous, Jarrett. It's true because I think, it's not uncommon to have fear around this process of fundraising. And we hear that all the time, Jarrett. I mean, don't you think people are always like, oh, I'm so afraid, and this. And one of these things is getting past that gatekeeper, or even, dare I say, getting to that gatekeeper. And so talk to us a little bit about what that gatekeeper even looks like and what the concept is. And maybe that in itself will help kind of reduce some of our tension, or maybe it'll spike it. I don't know.
No, I think it's, that quote is hilarious. It's from our textbook. One thing I would urge everyone to do, though, is to remember that a relationship with any donor, there is a mutually beneficial relationship. So a donor has the financial investment if you're looking for financial contribution from that donor, and you are the expert and you're doing the great work. So just remembering that to maintain that power balance. So even as we talk about gatekeepers, try to continue to position yourself as a partner versus I'm looking up here, I need you, and I'm the one asking for money. I would just always encourage you, even as you're talking about gatekeepers, to remember that you are offering a product. It is a social return on investment. It's still a benefit. Julia, what were you going to say?
No, I love that, because right out the gate, and again, going back to that fear point, that right there, just, don't you think, Jared, makes it seem like, hey, this is a conversation, a relationship. It's not a power struggle. It's, I love that just overarching approach. And it seems to me the gatekeeper concept has morphed and changed even just during the pandemic. What are gatekeepers looking like right now?
A gatekeeper is anyone that you need to work with to meet with that donor. It could be a family member. It could be a professional assistant, even a personal assistant, a friend, anyone that is going to help open a door for you to that individual who has influence with them. So that is someone that your prospect trusts and listens to, and someone that you want on your side, helping advocate for you.
What about Pearl? I know when we look at, funders, and there are, guidelines on their website of a process that you need to carry out, so it might be send a letter of intent to this email, and then, from that we'll review it. So gatekeepers, and prove me wrong if I'm, kind of sharing this incorrectly, can also be digital. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. And especially when you look at the world today, the way that we are, for example, at Fundraising Academy, the way that we're teaching people to build relationships virtually, it applies to gatekeepers. And frankly, the way you cultivate a gatekeeper is how you build relationships with anyone. It's just a different objective and a different, perhaps time period that you're engaging them. But yes, no matter what it is you are looking for, whatever that open door, that entity that is opening the door, that is the gatekeeper.
Yeah. And oftentimes, they have, an allotted amount of money every single year that they will grant out or they will award. And so why not be their partner? Why not let them know that you have a great mission alignment with their core values and their own mission alignment? So I love this. So we're going to move into several tips. And again, those of you watching and listening, this is a 2-part series. So we're going to go through 3 of these tips today and 4 of them tomorrow. So building rapport, as you said, and we should really be doing this for all relationships, not just funders. So we could pull this into our personal life. But number 1, your tip is to adjust your attitude. What do you mean by that?
So having served one as a gatekeeper at a previous foundation and also cultivating gatekeepers, I can tell you that, again, you want to cultivate a relationship with this person in a way that you would cultivate with anyone that you want to build an authentic relationship with. So be kind, be understanding that you are asking their time. You are asking them to give you time, and be authentic. People want to connect with people who are authentic. You can see insincerity. You can feel it. So if that's how you're trying to cultivate a relationship, it's not going to be effective. But also recognize that they're giving you time too, just as you're giving them time. So have the right attitude, be gracious that they are opening that door for you to have that relationship.
I love that, because I think that is something that is just a good behavior across the board. From when you walk into your own office or your service center or whatever, it's just a general it's a healthier way to behave, right? I mean, I think we can all agree we've seen a lot of unpleasantness in the last, several years just within social interaction. And so, I love that you say this. I think that's just an amazing piece. the next piece of this, which is, point number 2, and again, I want to spend a little bit more time on this because honesty is the best policy. And it's like, we're going to tell somebody we're going to ask them for money up front. I mean, like, what does this actually mean, Pearl?
So ethically, you shouldn't be lying anyways, right?
Yeah.
That is important.
Yeah.
And remember that these individuals are close to your prospect. So also just know that if you are not honest, they will find out. They will ultimately find out. And that relationship, that door will be closed on you. So one, if you feel like you can't be honest, there's a deeper issue there that needs to be addressed. But again, when you are, especially when you represent an organization and you are a fundraiser, people know why you're there. Mm-hmm. If you have done your research, you know that this is a prospect who has high propensity to give to your organization, then you should be honest. They know why you're there. If they see that from you, they see that you're upfront. I want to develop a relationship, talk about how we can enhance impact together, blah, 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 blah. You're more likely to, again, to build an authentic relationship. If you're starting out and you're not honest, you are never going to be able to recover from that.
Mm-hmm. Jared, I have a question for you along this line, because it seems to me, and I don't know if it's just our community, but in the last 10 or 15 years, there's been a lot of development teams that have used this tool of, we are doing a survey about what our community thinks about us. Could we come to you, high net worth donor, and ask you these questions? Okay. And it just seems to me like it's a total scam to get in the door, because everybody wants to have their opinion asked. It's like, it seems like, oh, we're being very gracious and we want to ask you these questions, but in reality, they're trying to get to you to ask, for money. And I'm wondering, have you seen this, or have you?
Maybe not as much as you have. I might not be quite up on the level of affluency in our community.
Oh, wow, slap.
But I have definitely gotten a few, and I really see those as feasibility studies. They are the preliminary conversations of capital campaigns, right? And that's really where I'm seeing it. And I have, as I said, I've gotten a few, and they are from organizations that I've been remotely a part of, but not very, very tied to. And so I don't want to give them my time, because I'm currently not even giving them my money, right?
Well, yeah.
And so that's interesting.
It's hard. So Pearl, how do you do this? I mean, with this, like, don't worry, we're not going to ask for money.
Yeah, that's a good question. And we talk a lot about that. One, when we talk about the approach, which is step 3 of the cause selling cycle, the way that you approach a donor, you need to do enough research about them to really know what drives them to give. What do they care about? So when you're approaching them, ideally, there is some sort of, it's a warm call, not a cold call. There's some sort of connection already, or someone who knows them. Julia, I think we talked about that on Friday.
Yeah. But
again, speaking to what they care about. And it can be, I'm not asking you for a gift today. Often we do say, if you're not asking for, make sure some of your touch points do not have an ask. And you can be clear. At some point, I would love to talk about that today. I just want to better understand how we can blank, or whatever that looks like, but be sure that you know enough about that donor that you know what will excite them and make them interested. And you also want to do that research on the gatekeeper as well. So you want to be sure you know as much as you can about them, so that you can, again, that first contact is comfortable and it speaks to them.
Mm-hmm. That's really critical. I feel like we're already organically moving into the tip number 3, but I do feel like the first 2 are basic humanity and kind of kindergarten lessons, like, not to downplay the model, but it's like, one, be kind to the person that you need to have that conversation with. And number 2, be honest, right? Like, these are 2 core levels of humanity that I think, if we do, to your point, Pearl, take that into all relationships, that would do better for everyone.
Yeah,
I agree. And, I will say, with the adjust your attitude, especially, I do know, I've been there where you know how great your cause is. You're living it day in, day out. You also know that you have this financial goal that you have to meet. So sometimes I can speak for myself. I've skipped over steps, and I know sometimes I've caught myself feeling almost entitled. Who shouldn't give to
Right.
this great organization? So
Mhm.
I can also understand how we might forget that. We might forget that this person might not have a relationship with us. They
Yeah.
might be speaking with a number of other organizations. So
Yeah.
I have had to remind myself to adjust my attitude, because like,
Yeah.
we're amazing. Why don't you want to partner with us? So
Why wouldn't you want to fund us? I don't
yeah,
get it.
so
Well,
I do
I
understand. I think it's an important reminder that, like you said, humanity comes first.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it does. Now, the next part of this is maybe where we get down to be a little bit more specific, and that is get personal information. This is tip number 3, and it's not really tip, I would say it's strategy number 3
Mhm.
of these 7 strategies that we're covering. What are you talking about? Are you talking about personal information of both the gatekeeper and that person you're going to meet with, or what are we looking at here?
So both.
Okay.
Definitely, if you are ready to reach out to a prospect, i.e. through a gatekeeper, you want to be sure that you've done all of the research necessary on that prospect, including not just what they're interested in, but their giving history, any connections with your organization that you can reference in your outreach. And then same thing with the gatekeeper. They're an individual. Yes, they will open doors. Yes, they most likely have the donors, the prospect's ear, but they're their own person. So as much research as you can do on them in a way that's ethical, of course, and that supports relationship building. Really what it does is it informs how you reach out to them, any potential red flags. For example, if you know that there's something, whether it's through social media that might turn them the other way, you want to be sure to avoid that, but not in a way like, I know this about you. Oh, and I know this too. Really just to support an authentic relationship starter. And also, it's not just prior, it's when you're meeting with them, asking about them, because everyone likes to hear their name. Use their name, ask them questions about themselves, get them talking, and remember those details.
Yeah.
In a way, again, that's authentic.
Very authentic. May I drop a nugget here? Because
Please.
I very similarly, there's a gatekeeper of a foundation, and I've actually known her for years in my career. And so I work with many organizations. Well, I know she's a grandmother, and I know she spends so much time with her grandchildren, and bringing that up, you can get her to talk for hours, right? And that is just authentic. It is real, and it's humanity and the person first, and just something like that. And I think, and Pearl, you've seen it, Julia, you've seen it. You have a conversation and people they tell you a lot, and you have to take mental notes and, capture that. So just something as simple as being a grandparent, that is such a big key piece of information.
Yeah, it is. And I can also say, be cautious. Exactly what you said, Jarrett. That's such an authentic, genuine connection and something that's close to their heart. So as you're doing that, be cautious about, I know when I was in a gatekeeper role at a foundation, and it was very clear when people were trying to connect with me, I can say, but not really. I could tell they were not going to remember what I told them, or they'd ask the same questions every time. So yeah, like you said, remember those key details and ask, how's your granddaughter doing?
Yeah.
Right? It's just such a simple thing. It's authentic, it's real. But just, be very intentional in what you ask, and make sure that you're gauging how they're responding to your questions. Not everybody does want to share. So be sure that you're meeting them where they're comfortable.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you, Pearl, and that is to what you just said. The gatekeeper of a foundation whose business is to give money away, and it's transactional, and that's one aspect. But let's say the gatekeeper of a business owner, and you're trying to engage them in their own personal philanthropy. It can be a little different, right?
Absolutely. And I can share, one of the foundations was it was a family foundation. So it was individual donors, and the other was actually a community foundation with individual fund holders. Yeah. So similarly, you're kind of in a way representing both, but yes, for the individuals, you are protecting their time, you are protecting their resources, you know that they're getting hit up. by multiple organizations. So in a way, as the organization, you are one of many. So you have to stand out. Again, what do they give to? Both the donor and this gatekeeper, do they also conduct philanthropy too? But yes, it is different depending on the type of gatekeeper. You want to be sure that you are connecting in a way that's relevant, I would say, and appropriate based on what that relationship looks like.
Great point. Yeah.
Are you seeing, Jarrett, and more like, I want my trust advisor to be there, or I want my attorney, or, you know, some other like business aspect that fits in administratively?
No,
No? Okay.
I'm not. And I'm not even seeing like the married couples coming to the table quite as often, right? Like I'm seeing one of them meeting up, and then, you know, everyone's got a really busy schedule, but, you know, let me go back, share with my spouse, share with my business advisor, share with my attorney, I'll get back to you. So, you know, it used to be to make, and it still is, make sure all decision makers are there at the conversation. But I think it just depends on where you are in the cycle, right? Where are you in your steps? And do you have the right people as part of the conversation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. You know, Pearl, I got to ask you this. As you navigated your relationship with this piece of it as being a gatekeeper, how much did you see this in play? Could you identify where somebody was, or that you made a decision that was like really hard to get past? Like, they're just like totally fake. I'm not even going to move this forward. I mean, how much of a decision and an influence, I guess, is my question, were you to that ultimate process?
So as a gatekeeper, very definitely, I would say a lot of, well, I was one of a few gatekeepers, and we definitely had the donor's ear. And our word, maybe not mine, but my boss's, and the first time I can remember, my boss absolutely had our donor's ear. Whatever she said, he trusted. They had worked together for 35 years. So they had that relationship. So if a nonprofit was in her corner, then absolutely that was getting on his desk, no question. So really, I can say that anytime I've served as a gatekeeper or worked with a gatekeeper, absolutely there is, for me, when I knew that the nonprofits that I spoke with, that I could develop a connection with, and I could really understand the impact of their work, they were always top of mind. So if I had a donor come to me asking, I would always do the research. Granted, I would always do the research to be sure I was getting a larger pool, because not every nonprofit has the resources to stay top of mind, which I understand, but they were top of mind. So they were absolutely going to be included in that research. So yeah, and also if I knew of a nonprofit, I did my own research. I wanted to know more about them. If it was someone who was connecting with me at a human level and I really enjoyed that connection, of course, I'm going to see their name. I'm going to open up that article. It's human nature. When you see something that you're aware of, you start to learn more about them. So the thing is, when you get in on the same side as a gatekeeper, they're going to do some of that work for you. If they really care about your work, maybe they get involved as a volunteer.
Yeah.
That actually eliminates some of the work you have to do to get to that prospect.
I have another question, curveball. How often do gatekeepers talk to other gatekeepers? And my question there really is about, you know, we can find a lot of information online, but how much do we actually source our own peer group for additional insight?
That is such a great question.
Great question. Yeah.
I did not personally speak with a lot of other gatekeepers outside of my close network. I'm sure, I feel like if you're looking at professional assistants, for example, executive assistants, there are professional groups.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe through LinkedIn, for example, or personal groups. But yeah, that's a great question. I would really love to look into that and study that.
Yeah. Well, I know here in our community, you know, they definitely talk. And if you don't, you know, do your impact report, or you don't follow up with those reporting guidelines for the award, or, you know, the investment, that is a big no-no, you know, and word travels fast. So we're a small sector, but
when you think of the kind of the professional advisor gatekeeper world, estate planning attorneys, financial advisors, definitely that's an area where I would suggest get to know them. A lot of organizations have councils. So professional advisor councils, make sure that your information is on their desk, that they are aware of your organization, because again, they also have a lot of power with their clients. And if your information, your materials are in their office, that is just such great exposure for you. So thinking of those more professional gatekeepers, highly recommend engaging them. Even if you don't have a specific prospect in mind, just do that work on the side and let them do that work for you.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's amazing. Well, Pearl, it's really an exciting opportunity for Jarrett and I to get this time with you, because as the director of Fundraising Academy, you are a busy woman with people all over the world. And so we are thrilled. We love all of the folks and the experts and the trainers that you send us. They're great. But this is a real rare and special opportunity for us. So we are so appreciative. Again, Pearl Hoagland, Director of Fundraising Academy at National University. Check them out at fundraising-academy.org. You'll see a lot of really interesting things that they're doing. And remember, tomorrow is part 2. So we have 4 more very interesting ideas for all of us to approach gatekeepers with. And I think you'll be surprised at some of them, because they're not the normal thing that you would think, no matter how many years you've served in our community, in a community, or you've been asking. I found some of these things were new. More importantly, before we let you go, can you talk to us briefly about the new online learning portal that you all have established?
Yes, of course. And also thank you so much for having me back today. So our online learning portal, first, I want to preface this with it is completely no cost to anyone who signs up, and all of the content on our portal is completely free. This is a library of all of our on-demand content, whether it's prospecting templates, sample questions to ask a prospect throughout the entire relationship-driven cause selling cycle, live and on-demand webinars with CFRE trackers. You can actually work towards your CFRE education and track your CFRE education progress through our portal. We just launched My Progress, where you can now bookmark all of the content on our portal, find it in one place so you don't have to go fishing through the portal to find it, and then track all of your learning and your education for each of those. So it is just such a great portal. I go in it probably every single day just for my own learning. We add content on a regular basis. It is just a wonderful platform that when you just need either a quick tip or a quick strategy, or you want to do some longer learning through longer webinars, we've got you covered.
I love it. It's amazing. And I know you have a new textbook that's going to be coming out probably in the next year or so, but I have loved this. I mean, obviously you can see on my post-it notes, but it's really great information. And then to marry the digital portal, it's beautifully done too. Really easy to navigate, and something that it's good information, but sometimes you can have good information. It's not easy to navigate. And you all have done a beautiful, beautiful job. Hey, everybody, I'm Julia Patrick. I've been joined by, I like to say my nonprofit nerd, but really the nonprofit nerd, Jarrett Ransom, CEO of the Raven Group. Amazing, amazing dialogue. And what a great week to start, a great way to start our week. Don't you think, Jarrett?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Really a lot of fun. Hey, we want to make sure we thank everyone who's with us day in and day out. That includes Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, your part-time controller, Be Generous, Fundraising Academy at National University, Staffing Boutique, Nonprofit Thought Leader, and the Nonprofit Nerd. Hey, this is going to be really fun. Tomorrow, ladies, we get to explore the next 4 pieces of this. It'll be a lot of fun.
I can't wait.
I'm so appreciative. Hey, as we like to end every episode, we want to remind ourselves, our viewers, especially Pearl Hoagland, because she's got to be back here tomorrow, to stay well so you can do well. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.